And we're back with the show. It's the PCC Multiverse. It's Gerald Glasser coming right back at you here at the PCC Multiverse Pop Culture Cosmos. Please make sure you go ahead and give us that fantastic 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure you go ahead and get the latest notifications when you do so. For the latest. Yeah. Shh, I'm talking. I'm doing my intro. I know I couldn't put you two together.
I was pointing at the subscribe and likes, or it could have been up here. So I thought.
All right, fair enough. All right, you're helping me pitch. All right,
yeah, right.
Sorry, teacher.
Like and subscribe to get the latest notifications on when we go live at the latest Pop Culture Cosmos, PCC Multiverse, Inside Sports, Fantasy Football, State of Pro Wrestling, and more right here from your friends at the Pop Culture Cosmos. Indeed. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend and her beloved, the guy we pick on almost every other week.
Hey.
Surprise!
Hey. Shit talk to my face instead of behind.
Of course, the voices and faces behind. Of course, Vampires of Vitae, Wizards of Wine, Wild Beyond the Witchlight, so much more. The world of RPG has never been the same since these two got together. It is the Melinda and Rob, the Barkhouse Ross. Barkhouse Rosses.
Rosses. Yeah.
Okay.
We prefer Rossasai.
Rossasai.
Yeah, right.
The Barkhouse Rossasai. It is Melinda and Rob. Just to say thank you. It's so great to be here. It's so great to have you here after all the stuff that we went through today. Melinda and Rob, it's just great to have you back on the show once again.
Happy to be back.
Yeah.
It is going to be a quick one for us today here because on the back end, TJ Johnson, he had the urge after we went on the show earlier this week with a great 1-hour episode. He went on he just had the urge to go ahead and ask, who is your Batman? So on the back half of the show, he asked, Gerald, who is your Batman? And we'll find out about that on the back end of the show for all you audio listeners as well. But for today, we've been talking Dune, Warhammer, Shogun, and The Walking Dead. All right, we got a lot of good stuff for you. But first, it is, of course, Dune Part 2. Since next week, I've been told by John Orlando, my tag team partner for the State of Pro Wrestling, will be on next week for the State of Pro Wrestling week. Melinda and I next week will not begin to sing all the praises for Dune Part 2 because we'll already have tickets. I already bought my tickets for next weekend for Dune Part 2.
That was nice of you.
For you?
I heard R, right?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
I mean, it's on the internet forever.
Well,
You can't get rid of it.
my
I mean, like, you can go back
wife
to the tape,
and I-
Johnny. Yeah,
my
really.
wife and I.
Okay, fine.
That's gonna be fun. You want a double date?
Oh, well, we're going to South Point. Absolutely, you can find me there. I'll send you the info where that is. There's still tickets available. So yeah, absolutely. I'll send you the date and time when I'm going on. It's got Saturday, I believe the 2nd was when I'm going to go check it out. So yes, I'll send you the info on that, and we'll be glad to go ahead and do that. Absolutely, I think my wife would be absolutely, just so glad to meet you. But it is Dune Part 2. The reviews have come out well in advance, and this is a planned operation by Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers just had a big conference today in regards to all their shareholders, talking about how they're finally making a profit year over year on their streaming service, talked about all the disappointments with their superhero films. But the one thing that they saved praise for was the fact that they actually patted themselves on the back that throughout the strike and whatnot, the one smart move they made was moving Dune Part 2 to March of 2024. And Melinda, it looks like it's going to be set up for a massive hit. Rob, the reviews are tremendous. Right now, the score on Metacritic is about 80. A lot of people are absolutely in love with this. They've talked about this in the same light as The Two Towers and The Empire Strikes Back as a middle part of a Dune trilogy, because Dune Messiah is supposedly the next movie made by Denis Villeneuve. So your thoughts, Melinda and Rob, on Dune Part 2 coming out?
About time. I just feel like I've been waiting for forever to see this one. And I've just realized as we were coming on the air that the two movies that we've seen since the pandemic in theaters, Dune 2 will be our second, have both been Timothée Chalamet movies. So I guess we're Timothée Chalamet fans.
Hey man, he's showed up really hard for this particular
Yeah.
piece.
He is one. He has become the big star that
Oh, yeah,
has
he-
benefited from this era of
He's
movies.
definitely,
For
I
sure.
feel very much the new Johnny Depp. If I'm gonna put him, I mean, like you can go direct comparison in between who has enough gumption to take over the Wonka shoes.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Like there's something in there, and there's also something very accessible about him, just like you do have in a Johnny Depp. Like he's a weirdo that you want to watch. You know.
Mm.
But go ahead. I'm
the
sorry.
reviews
No,
have
no,
been-
that's interesting.
but the reviews have been outstanding for it. I mean, for a movie that's already been, there's already well over 100 reviews on it online, and virtually all of them have talked glowingly about this, about how whether or not you liked, loved, or adored Dune Part 1, as you and I did, Melinda, when we talked about it originally. In fact, it was my number one entity of the year, I believe, for 2021. It is just fantastic for us. Not everybody agreed with it, the pacing, the world building. Not everybody did. It did win or did get a nomination for Best Picture, and why it didn't win for Best Picture, I still don't know. Sorry, Coda, but it was better.
Yeah.
But I will say, though, that there's almost universal praise. Action, set pieces, design, audio, special effects. The fact that I'm not seeing it on an IMAX is hurting me.
Mm.
It's on an XD when I'm seeing it. That's the only thing that was available to me at the time. So I will ask you to, is this something that's going to be one of the biggest events of the year, not named Deadpool and Wolverine?
Well, let's go back to, like, first of all, the undertaking it is to do Dune. Like, we've seen amazing directors fail this in short story form. We've seen colossal, and I hate to say it, but colossal failure with the first attempt to do this. So this is a cursed project. So let's just what they've been able to do with the first one was astounding. And the reason it's a cursed project is because of the level of world building that you need to make it believable, right? Because what you can create in someone's mind while they're reading a book, and one of the books that shaped
Sci-fi genre, really.
but period.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and also extremely political during the time period, especially. And his work was obviously carried on by his son after the fact, but it was just such a large scope film, and they proved that they could do it with the first one. And on top of it, like when it was released, most people didn't see Dune in the theaters. They saw Dune at home. You know, they had that experience, and it deserves to be seen on a giant screen because it is so epic. So what you have is you have a populace that only saw it the first time at home, and as good as home studios are, they're not what it is to have the experience to go, especially with some friends, out to a movie and experience one together. I think that this is just going to blow it away. We're going to get to see Evil Elvis, which I am so just
Austin Butler for everybody else.
And some of his interviews about this were like so poignant. And he addresses it. It's like, when am I going to get a part like this? I've already set myself up in Hollywood to be a certain type of guy. I'm not going to get to have the shaved-headed, maniac that is here for the absolute, not just, like getting back his family's honor, but, I don't want to ruin any plot for some people, and who knows if they're going to keep it that way when it comes to the film. But he's playing a very, very interesting and dark character. And just his excitement of being at that level of his career after having the beautiful experience he had with, like working with Tom Hanks, you know what I mean? Like working with some huge guys. So he just got to show up almost as breezy as he possibly could. Charlamagne's having some great, some amazing success with pretty much everything he touches. Zendaya is just, she's lighting up the build chart. She's outrageously likable. Everything, her fandom, she cares about her fandom. She cares about the places that she's going into, and she shows a lot of respect for the properties that she that she feels lucky enough to be part of. This is a spell of success that I don't think can be broken. I think that they've They've proven they can do it. They have a star-studded cast. They have an obsessed director. They've gone super practical with so many of their effects, even though they're living in this absurd world that needs to be done in CG. And they've done everything they can to make the audience involve themselves and be able to touch the scenery and chew on the grass if they want to.
I agree.
Oh, come on.
No.
You can't just ditto me.
No,
Like,
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No, but you raised a lot of really good points. I think a lot of those, I want to refer to them as, and this is probably incorrect, but in my brain at my age of 25, we're seeing like the next generation, I think, of the big actors coming up. So when you're seeing Butler and Chalamet and Zendaya all part of it cast, supported by some of the old heavy hitters, it's that already is,
we have the snap right there.
right?
I mean, like,
Yeah,
forget
it's
about it.
already a design for success, I think. And then you put this great treatment of the material on top of it, and it's just it's a no lose situation as far as I can tell.
It's also a very poignant book for the times too. I mean, like,
Yeah.
what the actual novel deals with is, I mean, like, yes, it is considered the most, like, one of the leaning edges of sci-fi material when it comes to especially American fiction. But like, the political stuff is applicable now, and I think that's going to energize a younger audience that doesn't want to be preached to, just wants to see a different political field in a fantasy far, far away. And I think that they've handled that balance exceptionally well.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I know Cool Bro's in the chat, and he said it's the biggest movie since Oppenheimer. It's actually the biggest movie since Barbenheimer, since Barbie and
Yes. Yeah.
Put them together,
opened.
man.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that
Thanks
was
for joining the chat.
that was a tremendous opening for both at getting near or over $1 billion. So I'm hoping for the same kind of success for Dune Part 2. A lot of people are reading into it. A lot of people didn't get a chance to see the first one in theaters, but they are taking advantage of it now. Please get your tickets for probably the biggest event not named Deadpool and Wolverine, and that will be Dune Part 2. Hopefully you will enjoy it as much as we will. I know I will be back probably the weekend, that Monday show after it debuts. I will go ahead and have my full review of it because we will have already seen it. Maybe I even get Melinda and Rob. We'll get a special deal where we get the review together. We go ahead and share our thoughts on it. So hopefully we can do that as well, indeed. So it is Dune Part 2. Please go ahead and check it out and let us know your thoughts. If you're going to go ahead and see Dune Part 2, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. But before we head to the break, 2 more big entities. The Walking Dead is still walking, even though a lot of people have been saying it's dead for a long time.
Talk about a zombie. Holy jeez.
Well, you know what? This is their last big shot, I think, because The Ones Who Live is going to be a small mini series that they've got set up for you. With the returning, I'll tell you what, it's so great to have them both back in the fold as far as The Walking Dead is concerned. So let me ask you this. When it concerns bringing back Denai Guerrera and Andrew Lincoln, Rick Grimes and Michonne back in the fold, I know this is not going to get 17 million people back to The Walking Dead, but will it gain some interest? It's gotten okay reviews out there so far as people who've seen it advance, but let me hear your thoughts on The Ones Who Live and return of Rick and Michonne.
So I think that, as we are viewers of these shows and these epic fantasies where we see these characters go through so much hardship, I think we almost become, and no, complacent's not the word I'm looking for, but we almost become
Numbed?
No, how am I trying to put this? We almost begin to look at them as, I don't want to say inserts for ourselves in these crazy worlds, but I think that we pick our favorite characters that we think we could be friends with if we were existing in that universe. And I think that that's what Rick and Michonne will bring back to The Walking Dead. I think that that's been missing for a little while, and I think that them coming back, it will get some people back. I don't think you're right. It's not going to get 17 million people back by any stretch of the imagination. It might for the first episode, but I think that will eventually kind of taper off.
Well, So when the first episode of The Walking Dead, right? It was
Yeah.
right after a Super Bowl, very much like Survivor.
Yep.
Like so, and no one had ever seen a show like Survivor before, but everyone was already tuned in. It was something like, okay, you watch the Super Bowl, and then here's
The
this
thing comes on
this
after.
grand
Yeah.
experiment, right? And we all saw Survivor. Everyone fell in love with it. Well, I think The Walking Dead something very, very similar, unlike it being reality TV that we'd never seen. It was TV that we'd never seen.
Yeah.
There wasn't any nefarious guy twiddling his mustache in the background. It was literally just humanity versus humanity. And all those characters that you're talking about, these are these core individuals that introduced everyone to stuff like Lost. Lost also famously right after the Super Bowl. The first time you ever saw it was then. These are some events that not only give credit to the amazing storytelling that they've had with The Walking Dead throughout their years, but like grabbing a huge audience right in the beginning, and it became the water talk that you had at the office.
Right. Yep.
Can you believe this happened? I can't believe that happened. I remember gushing. I don't have a water cooler. I worked at a bar, so mine was over the soda gun. But so the soda gun conversation was when he got the car. I'm sorry, I can't remember the character that finally got the sports car, and he runs it all the way back and he drives home.
Right.
And just be excited for him, you know. And then the failure of feeling those kind of characters that you've kind of come up to love in a group of people, in a large mass of people, that you could have a simple conversation, and maybe you didn't really relate that much on many other places, but you all watch the same TV show. That I think has fallen hugely off the market since streaming.
Yeah.
Because you could have everything in common with your friend, but it used to just be on cable. So as long as he had cable, you guys could watch the same show. Now I'm on Hulu, and maybe he doesn't pick up Hulu, or I'm on Hulu plus, and like he doesn't have those options for his shows.
Yeah.
So those conversations, even though it's tackled on to people that have the exact same enjoyment of shows, it's now being split in between all these. Well, I just don't have that channel. The Walking Dead bringing back all these original characters. This is going back to a time period, at least for our age range, that we can all talk about at some level of understanding, because these were the shows that everyone was watching. I think the biggest example must be, Game of Thrones.
Oh, I was thinking Sopranos.
Yeah, absolutely. There we go. Another perfect example of that. That Sopranos cost, well, they both cost HBO, right?
Yep.
So this was like the premium conversation. So you had cable, and then you had HBO, and HBO was like
Sopranos, Game of Thrones.
Right. You had like the one jump up.
Walking Dead.
Yeah, right. I think that this is harboring back into something that was on cable, that practically everyone in our age range at least saw once, because you had that one friend who's like, you have to watch it.
Oh, totally.
No matter what, you have to see this.
I was that friend.
Yeah, there you go. You know what I mean? It's kind of like Doctor Who when it first came out.
Right.
So I think that it's going to actually do a lot more than any of us are thinking, because no one is really they lost a lot of their core original people, and to bring some of that nostalgia back through the entire time to see it one more time, I think is going to be amazing.
Oh yeah, I'm not poo-pooing that. I just don't think that they're going to get back the 17 million, and if they do, I just don't think that they're going to stick around too long. I just feel like we at this point have moved on a little bit from The Walking Dead, and I mean this is going to bring us back for a minute, but I don't think it's going to recapture what they had, the chokehold that they had on everybody for so long.
Well, it is The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. Catch it this weekend, starting this weekend on AMC, and then also starting as a competitor on FX. I mean, all these cable shows. Wow, cable's coming back, hopefully, as far as that's concerned. It is Shogun, the remake of the old miniseries from way back. It is Shogun, looking like a very epic miniseries in its own right, based off the book, just to let Cool Bro and everyone know that it is looking like a tremendous epic event in its own right. Gotten pretty good reviews as well. Your thoughts on FX's Shogun, and could this be something to get people invested back into cable television again?
Mind if I jump on this one?
Please do. Yeah, please do.
So it's a famous story for people that don't know Shogun. You do know Shogun. You've seen multiple great directors do Shogun. This is going around different villages, picking up the best warrior and coming back. This is a very, very, very old historic story. And you've seen Tarantino create Shogun. You've seen
Right.
what's his name? Keanu Reeves has done this with the not the Last Samurai, what
The
was
last
his?
first Ronin or
The first
last Ronin?
Ronin.
Yeah.
Right. This is a beautiful representation coming back to its roots. Spaghetti westerns are often based on this particular story.
Yeah, that
in
makes
fact,
sense.
Tombstone,
Yeah.
you could even argue, is very much this story.
Such a good movie.
Oh yeah, right. But like this particular story has been absorbed by the West many times because we're looking back at some of the greatest directors of all time. That this was one of their first stories that they chose to tell their own not historical, but culturally significant events when it comes to a story that comes directly out of the East, and the East is now getting their chance to tell it on a huge Hollywood stage. I think that it's awesome. I love all the talent that's in it, and don't be like turned off as a Western audience from this. This is something that we have embraced for a very, very long time. You're going to see themes. You're going to see, like hero tropes. You're going to. Where do you think the tropes come from?
Right.
A lot of these tropes have been done from this original aspect of it. If you like Tombstone, I'm going to say it's going to be a hard time for you not to like this, because it's going to be very similar. All these different individuals coming from different places that hold up a certain goal.
That is FX is Shogun. Shogun, it will be on FX. Go ahead and catch it this weekend as well. So busy TV watching in advance of watching Dune Part 2. Before we head on out, the masterman behind Warhammer, the guy who knows Warhammer better than probably anybody I know. Robbie, I tell you what, in part 2 of our conversation on Warhammer, you dedicated a whole hour to it, and I cannot thank you enough for doing so. But I wanted to bring you back in for a little bit of talk on Warhammer before we head to my conversation with TJ. And in doing so, I noticed that Power Wash Simulator has even got into the fun.
Yeah, 100%. For the Emperor, I squealed. You have to clean this muck for the Emperor. It's amazing.
Every single person that I have forwarded that particular video onto, who I know even is remotely interested in Warhammer, has just thought that it was the greatest thing. So if you haven't found that on the internet, you should try to find it, because it's really good.
So I ask you, Rob, with all that said and done, where does the Warhammer IP need to go from here? Because again, we've got a huge mini-series, movie, whatever universe Henry Cavill has planned out in the future, but that's down the road. That's probably not seeing anything until 2026. We know there's going to we know there's a series of video games always coming out every year at the Warhammer game. We know it's a dominating force behind Dungeons and Dragons in the world of tabletop RPG. But what is there for the future of Warhammer?
Right. So, and honestly, I don't mean to cause some controversy on this particular channel, but I have to give some credit where credit is due for the people at Waskies and all the people that work when it comes to Warhammer itself. There was this big hoopla about them stealing all of our artists, right? Like all the community artists. Essentially, what they did is they sent a letter of cease and desist to all the greatest creators when it came to the digital medium, like the people that were making the pictures, or the people that were making their own fantasy videos, or people that were into like making the new videos, right? Making their own personal projects. And the Warhammer Warhammer community rightfully said this was horrible, because what they were doing essentially was taking the product away for free that you could just see on YouTube, and you could see what was happening. Well, if you look at any of the newest videos, I gotta say, for this one time, what was good for the goose was good for the gander, because the videos that they're coming up with that are now the project leads, that were all the community leaders in that area that we were all yelling about, they provided them with the money, they provided them with the job, they provided them with stability. There's some of these guys that were making some of the most beautiful things, and then they'd go have to work at Starbucks, for 40 hours a week, and then come home on their own time. I gotta say, I think that we were wrong. If you look at the new stuff, you can see all that stylization and care and depth of ability, because what we're going to need is we're going to need the artist to bring something that Henry Cavill wants to bring to the screen itself. So what we're looking for at the future, if you look at some of the new stuff coming up with Space Marines 2 and all that jazz, there seems to be like a new game every month. And this is why, because there's 70 years, not 70, there's like 40 some odd years of over 100 books for all these artists to grab into. I don't think the world is ready to have such an expansive universe. I mean, look at Star Trek nerds and Star Wars nerds. Look about how much information there is about both of those.
Yeah.
And how much discord. Oh, it needs to go this way.
Yeah.
Oh, it needs to go this way.
Woof, you're right.
Yeah. Warhammer 40K specifically, you don't know the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
There's purposely things in there that are red herrings. There's purposely things in there that are unconfirmed reports. In fact, even the Primarch's order of whatever order that they were discovered, there's a book that literally says everything is a lie. This is how it actually happened, coming from the largest liar in the entire history of the franchise.
Yeah.
So what can you believe? So if I'm looking to see what is the future of Warhammer, all I'm seeing is a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of patience being thrown behind Cavill be his name. Hopefully he shall bring up the Holy Ghost of something that he truly and utterly is passionate about. Some of his words have been, "It is the greatest privilege of my career to bring up the thing that I care about most."
Yeah.
All he said in actual interviews of how important it is that we actually hit to the lore. Like, he wants to tell the actual story, and we know he will put his money where his mouth is, because he left a whole lot of money about something he cared about.
That's true.
And just left.
Yeah.
That was before the Warhammer deal. They just picked up the prince of nerddom on his way out. And so what I can say is I think Cavill at the helm is maybe the only powerful enough, prestigious enough, wealthy enough, and talented enough person that you could have asked for to be heading that ship. It's because if he doesn't like something, he can go, "I don't like that." And it's not going to come from the execs. It's going to come from him. Because if he doesn't like something, he's proven that he'll go to the media and be like, "This is not what I want."
Melinda, any last thoughts on Warhammer 40K? Because, obviously having the leading expert next to you in Warhammer always is a benefit.
It is a benefit, and I have to admit that Robbie's passion for the IP is it's rubbing off on me. I'm excited, and I'm anticipating everything that's coming.
So you
our
got
way.
a copy of Power Wash Simulator?
Do we have a copy of it? Not yet.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That'd be perfect for you. You'd enjoy the hell out of it.
I sure would.
Right?
Are you kidding me?
For
Oh
the
my God.
Emperor.
So great.
Yeah.
But no, I think that Robbie touched on a lot of the stuff that I've been thinking about it as well. And that is, for me, for somebody who I would consider myself more of a passive fan. Like, I don't actively reach out to the material. It just seems to find its way to me, or you bring me stuff all the time.
I think the word is bombard you with information you
No,
probably don't
no.
love.
It's not at all, because I don't know if you've noticed this about your wife, but I do love good lore. And Warhammer is full of all of that kind of stuff. And I think that for me, that's what's very exciting about it, is this opportunity to get all of these new stories and all of these new characters, because I'm sure in all of the conversations we've had about Warhammer, there are still characters that we haven't even started to talk about yet. Sure. So, that's very much what I'm excited about. I know I have my favorite Warhammer story that I would love to see them bring to the big screen, but I don't know how exciting it would be for the first go out. So I'm going to be surprised to see that one.
I would say
not make it.
I would say probably the thing that all of us are sitting here for on bated breath is, what part is Henry Cavill going to play?
Oh yeah, there's so much speculation.
And Josh put on Facebook that he said he would love to see Zack Snyder be a director in that world.
Oh, sure, big. I mean, like, it is bombastic, and Snyder is bombastic. So yeah, I mean, like,
I don't know.
The Snyderverse, man, he likes dark. He likes big.
I know, but I also feel like, and I don't know that Villeneuve would want to go from epic to epic, but I feel like Villeneuve could really have that vision of the grandness of it.
Well, I think somebody, like, when it comes to the Snyder universe specifically, like Batman versus Superman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is something that like is Warhammer. They have one of the Primarchs, like is essentially a Batman,
Right.
and one of the other Primarchs is essentially a Superman.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's two very distinct paths about both of those characters, and Snyder has shown that he can reveal it back to their most basic moments and allow a superhuman to fight a man.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I do think that he is large enough scale, because you're going to need large scale. You're going to need somebody that can look at something and be like, no, this is what you can't see, and this is what you can see, and be able to convince the actual actors in that scene, and have enough veracity of verbal understanding to be able to describe to those individuals what they're seeing in that moment and allow them to act naturally in a very unnatural world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that checks all the boxes, though. I mean, look at that Dune adaptation. I mean, it's beautiful, and it's huge.
I mean, I would Ridley Scott would also be like I would love to see what his vision of that. You know what? If Spielberg had one last chance and just not be funny, you know what I mean? Like if you could take the Spielberg spin, the E.T. phone home fingers, but there needs to be a level of brevity within such darkness.
Sure.
Like, because you can't just watch dark the entire time. You need at least gallows humor. You need at least something to propel these individuals.
Yeah, you need something to release that tension sometimes.
And pop that bubble. And I do think that, I mean, like, and Spielberg is getting in the teeth, right? So talk about somebody that understands how to push that envelope. I mean, like, that's the Spielberg I want for this.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that the last time I ever cried on my mother's shoulder was when I watched, I was a child when I watched, best movie pretty much of all time.
Use your words.
Describe
it.
Jurassic Park.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's a director I want. I want somebody that can show absolute pain and absolute horror, and absolute chaos. Because does the T-Rex save him at the end? He doesn't. He just kills another dinosaur. It happens to save them. It's dark. The T-Rex is still as scary as he's fighting off the other big bad. That's the Chaos Lords for me, man. Like if he could just dust off that backwards hat one more time and give us Jaws, come on. Of course, that's the 90s and 80s showing in me, but
well, I'll tell you what, though, it's going to be great to see how the Warhammer IP develops, and we'll go ahead and make sure to report it on to you as it develops into something on screen that we can go ahead and check it out. But speaking of on screen, make sure you catch Shogun. Make sure you on FX. Make sure you also watch on AMC, The Ones Who Live from The Walking Dead. And then also, Cool Bro wanted me to mention season 3 of The Bad Batch, the final season for Star Wars The Bad Batch.
I'm enjoying that one.
See, there you go. He did watch it after all, Cool Bro. So he has watched it. He is enjoying it. I've heard the mixed reviews on the first few episodes that it really doesn't seem to go anywhere until they were saving it for the last few episodes to go out on a banger, as the kids say. So
it's a little slap happy and lazy in the beginning, but I think that's kind of like what the characters are. They are slap happy and lazy within a very serious setting. So I didn't hate it. I enjoyed it.
Well, I'll tell you what, though. It is The Bad Batch, as Robbie Ross says, and to, of course, Melinda Barkhouse Ross and Robbie Ross. But before we head on out, please give us an update of what's going on with your awesome shows, you two. When you put your heads together, what kind of great awesomeness, goodness that you get for the world of tabletop RPG that people can go ahead and check on out.
Yeah, well, I mean, mostly foolishness, let's be honest. No, I kid. No, so actually where after this, I go directly into editing tomorrow's episode of Vampires in Vitae. And I was, I don't know where my brain was last week, but I didn't realize that Wednesday was Wednesday. So I have Wizards and Wine, at least one episode to edit today, and hopefully get out and get published right away. The latest for Vampires in Vitae will drop tomorrow. So that's kind of where we're at. Right now in Vampires in Vitae, Rose is getting ready to turn one of her girls. So that's going to be interesting. She's being married off in kind of a blood bonding wedding ceremony kind of thing to combine our Anarch city with the Camarilla city, which is Reno, really. But yeah, so we're just kind of we're working through that, playing through that right now. For Wizards and Wine, we've got an episode coming this week where, well, we meet a bunch of alley cats in the episode as our characters start to get into the actual city of Larkovnia and start to discover that things might not be as pristine as they seem.
If you're a fan of Westerns and you're a fan of high fantasy, you'll find a comfortable home with us in either one of those particular podcasts.
There you go. Absolutely. The great work by Melinda and Rob. Please go ahead and check it out. Vampires and Vitae, Wild Beyond the Witchlight, Wizards and Wine. It is all there for you wherever you get your podcasts. Well, Melinda and Rob, it's been great to have you on. Cannot thank you both so much. Any last thoughts before we head on out?
Well, if you are a fan of Warhammer, I would love to hear your thoughts about, or not your thoughts, just your hopes of who he's going to play. I think it's going to be Constantine Valdor, and I would love to fight with you in the chat.
Careful what you wish
Yeah,
for.
right. If you're just going to say Sanguinius, we'll kind of agree. But like, yeah, what is your in pocket for Henry Cavill playing something for the upcoming Warhammer show?
Well, great to have you here, both of you. I'm Melinda. I will be seeing you in a couple weeks. We will go ahead and compare notes on. Actually, you know what? Again, we will try to get together, all three of us, to go ahead and give a live Dune review on the air. How about that? Yeah.
Sounds great.
Yes. We'll do that ahead of the show. We'll see if we can pop it on the Cosmos. That comes up right after Dune Part 2 debuts, and we'll see if we can throw that up there instead. So
Sure, yeah.
if you have 20 minutes or so to go ahead and talk about it, I would love to get the chance to do so. And we'll see. And I'll send you over that info here in just a second. As far as
yeah, perfect. Okay.
Oh no, the double date is what I'm excited for. We shall have pizza.
Oh my gosh!
I'll
Sounds
share my
good.
peanut M&Ms with you.
Oh,
The high compliment.
absolutely. I'll throw them at the screen at Austin Butler. There you go.
No.
No, he's riding the hot wave right now. Masters of the Air has been a huge hit for Apple
Yeah.
Plus, and yeah, absolutely. The guy is
He's coming in prime, man.
That
Him
kid's
and
doing all
Timothy-
right.
Yep, him and Timothée Chalamet. They even got their characters in Mortal Kombat.
I know, and they fight each other. You know what? In real life, they will play each other's characters and fight.
Well, you two, I'll tell you what, it's been so great to have you here, Melinda and Robbie Ross. Truly great to have you both here. Looking forward to getting you back on the show, talking Warhammer and pop culture right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. It's Elvis Butler, Gerald. No. He'll tell you it's awesome. He's never going to live that down, Austin Butler, I tell you. All right.
No, he did it too well.
Honestly, if the worst thing that happened in my career was people referred to me as Elvis, I think I'd be all right.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely.
Honestly.
I'm sure his paycheck it doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's doing all right.
If I was him, I'd answer his phone.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Take care. We'll see you next time right here at
You
the
bet.
Pop Culture.